listening to the Esq.Marketing podcast, hosted by Matthew Lauren, president of Esq.Marketing, where he features successful solo and SMB law firms from all over the United States. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hey, I'm Matthew Lauren, president of Esq.Marketing, and you're listening to the Esq.Marketing podcast, where I feature successful solo and SMB law firms from all over the United States. This episode is brought to you by Esq.Marketing. We help law firms generate more clients and cases using search marketing. And speaking of successful law firms, today I have the honor of speaking with Marc Wietzke, owner of Flynn Wietzke PC. Marc is a successful trial lawyer who has taken verdicts against Long Island Railroad, New Jersey Transit, Union Pacific RailRoad, Springfield Terminal, MTA, Metro North, CSX, and a slew of others. Marc, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
That is a lot of verdicts that you've taken. So on your website, it says 48. Has it increased since then?
Probably not, since I've had 8 trials delayed in the last 3 months.
Okay.
So, and we're now being told we shouldn't expect any civil jury trials until December, January of 2021 now.
Gotcha. So you practice in, technically it's like a personal injury niche, but it's much more specific than that. Can you talk a little bit more about what the firm does?
Sure. Railroad workers are not covered by workers' comp because railroad in one little area of the world came out ahead of everybody else. Back before workers' comp was invented in 1908, the Congress was killing on an average 12 people a day. Well, I shouldn't say that Congress wasn't killing them. The railroads were killing 12 people a day. So they passed a law called the Federal Employers Liability Act. It is the Federal Employers Liability Act.
That's FELA, right?
Yes, FELA. And the idea was that if you're going to get hurt on the job, you should have some way of recovering for your on-the-job injuries. And the difference from workers' comp in our world is we have to prove negligence, like you would in a regular personal injury case. But our standard of causation is lower, meaning we have to show that the negligence caused in whole or in part, even in the slightest. It's not proximate cause. And then we get jury trials. We aren't stuck with some archaic book that tells us what our clients are worth.
That's very cool. Yeah, when I first met you, I mean, we've had PI attorneys on the show. I've had like bankruptcy and divorce lawyers and even consumer rights lawyers, but never, for lack of a better phrase, train accident attorney.
Yeah, so we're train accident lawyers, and when they know we exist, a lot of passengers will find us too, because they realize that we know all the inside baseball. We know literally and figuratively where the bodies are buried. We know how to use the federal regulations to trigger strict liability. There's all kinds of things that, like anything else, once you become the person who's been doing it for 20 years and knows everything in the inside, you can make a difference much more efficiently.
Excellent, excellent. So what made you go into this particular niche? I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of PI niches you could have gone after. Was there something specific? Was it a business decision to go after the train accident related?
The easiest answer is the firm that I started out working for was close to my law school, and I could drive back and forth between classes and still earn an income because I had to pay for law school out of pocket. So I needed to be able to work, and the law school was literally 10-minute drive from the job, so I could go back and forth and work around classes. At the end of the day, though, I ended up loving it because I started doing it in just north of New York City, and the firm at the time was called Elkin, Flynn and Moore, and they've been doing just railroad work since 1951, I think. It then transitioned into law offices of Michael Flynn, and then became Flynn Wietzke. So we've literally done nothing but railroad. And in the interim, I went out and worked big firms and 700 lawyer firms where I learned I do have a major authority complex. And so it was a good thing that Michael Flynn called me up and said, "Look, I'm going to be retiring in a few years. I'd like you to come back and learn the practice from the inside instead of just what I had been doing before, and take over." So that I think Mike retired 2012 formally, but I don't know that he had really been actively engaged for 3 years before that. So for about yeah, we're over a decade now of me flying solo.
That's super cool. So it's like your some of your first connections resulted in your long-term career.
Oh, absolutely.
I hear that a lot.
In fact, my current office manager used to be my boss. You know, I'd like to remind her that I now sign her paychecks, but she, yeah. But the answer is yeah. So I started working for the firm in 1996. I worked there for a few years, went off and did the big firm thing, and then came back. And Mike and I just never lost touch. We would go to lunch at least every 6 months, keep up, and he's exactly 20 years older than me, and it was a match made in legal heaven.
That's a positive way of looking at it. Very cool, man. Over the course of running the law firm when you were solo, what's been like key for the success? Is there like a certain tool or software program you use that has been extremely helpful for you?
So from a software standpoint, honestly, Dropbox made a huge difference for me.
Really?
So it sounds strange, but we went virtual, not virtual. We went paperless.
Paperless, yeah.
Probably 2013, so 6 or 7 years ago. And the biggest thing for me from a workflow standpoint was just how do you get work, how do you get your mail, how do you get first drafts of documents, edit them, and get them out the door. I'm in the office maybe 1 day a week. The rest I'm on the road or pretty much all over the place. I mean, my cases are literally California to Texas to Indiana to everywhere in the tri-state area and everywhere in between. So if you're not going to be there, how do you keep work moving? And the answer for me was everything that comes in my office gets scanned, sort of hard copy mail. It gets scanned in within 24 hours so that I can see it. I read it right there. It gets filed away before I ever even see it because I don't need to. It's just they drop a PDF copy of everything. And I can review it on the road, off my phone, off my computer, or anything else. It's just such ease of everything. And now we've moved over to using Abacus as a case management software, but I don't even know if I can really call it Abacus anymore because I so severely rewrote the whole thing to make it work. Because again, you have a specialized practice and you're used to doing things a certain way. That was one of the things that drew me to Abacus, was that I could tweak the entire front end dashboard to look like I needed it to look in order to work for me. Because too many lawyers, I think, feel stuck working with the computer as opposed to the computer working for them.
Yeah, I can see how that would happen. You mentioned you go out of state. So how does that work? Are you licensed in multiple states, or?
I'm licensed in 2 states, New York and New Jersey, and have been since 96, 97. Actually, I guess 97, 98. I take that back. Okay. And then I'm admitted in, I don't know, something like 17 different federal district courts. Lawyers who do what I do around the country will tell you that a lot of them will say they avoid studiously federal courts. I disagree. Federal moves faster. They're more cutthroat, meaning the judges will cut you down to size in half a second. You get, but I can get a case from file to trial, meaning filing the lawsuit to standing in front of a jury, typically in 1 year or less.
File to trial, I like that.
And the idea is do all your homework before you file suit, so you're not figuring your case out once you're already in too deep to get out. And the other is, know your venue. So a lot of the district federal courts, I get local counsel even if I don't need them, because you need somebody saying, watch out for Judge so-and-so, or watch out for defense counsel, or, hey, we have a weird thing we do here. And it's always worth the referral fee or the local counsel fee to have that kind of inside baseball.
So also, throughout your time running your firm, what's gotten you the most traction in terms of getting new business? Has there been like a
success? Word of mouth. Honestly, I get more cases from word of mouth than anything else. But that wasn't always true. Meaning when I started out, I had to prove myself. So honestly, I was trying cases that everyone thought I was crazy to try, but it was because I needed to prove that I would do it. To this day, there's not a railroad in the country that doesn't believe that I will try that case, because I won't take it. If I'm not willing to, when I sign on, I tell the clients, I'm planning on to try your case. If they put a pile of money big enough to make us stop, we will. But do not hire me as your lawyer if you're not willing to go to trial yourself.
So when you say success, did you after you had some success with some cases, did you leverage that in terms of like reviews, or did you promote that in any way?
Well, so interestingly, if only there was somebody who was unique to attorney marketing, et cetera. And so oddly enough, that's obviously how you and I met, is I don't think I'm doing enough of that. And what I've come to realize is just from the web analytics that I already have, I can tell that over 55% of my website traction is coming from mobile phones. I can tell how long they're spending on a page. I can tell which pages are the most downloaded. For example, I created the simplest Excel spreadsheet in the universe that calculates wage loss. It gets downloaded probably 4 or 5 times a day at this point around the country. I don't know why it's such a big deal, but it's literally what I use in the practice. So I just made it so that other people could download it, because I got the same question. Well, I don't know what my wage loss is. Why not? It's, when did you go to work? When did you stop working? And what's your hourly rate? It ain't rocket science, but when somebody else puts it together, it makes it easy.
Yeah, it's neat. Those little tools, people love those things on the internet. I know I search for things like converting colors from like RGB to hex. There's tons of searches for that, and
the right person will actually understand what you just said.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, it sounds like, and I hear that a lot. A lot of attorneys who've had success, they start getting more referrals. They start kind of leveraging that, whether it's online or whether it's through their own referral network. But once they start having some success, other attorneys will refer them cases. Other people they've worked for will refer people to them. So I hear you. It helps to have some work under your belt that you can show off to other people.
But the other is the FaceTime, just going and being willing to pick up the phone. I probably 40% of the phone calls I get are not active live cases. It is somebody complaining about something on the job generally, et cetera. But when you're willing to take the few minutes or calling everybody back and leaving a detailed response to the question they called you with, response, I can't tell you how many times I look back and see that I got a case because I responded to somebody coming in through the website within, a few hours as opposed to a couple of days. And, that responsiveness is something, to the point where my family now says, I'm positive no one's looked at the website in the last 30 minutes, Dad. You're fine. Because look, it's a cutthroat universe, and we know that we're one of a lot of options. So you've got to be better, more responsive, and technology has really made it possible. I don't have to sit and check my voicemail all the time. Stuff comes into me, and I've flagged my phone so that if it comes in with the right keywords, it pops up with a noise, even if I have the phone on silent. That kind of stuff. So.
That's great. It's great you're leveraging technology. And yeah, it's a customer-centered universe. It's the ones who are responsive and provide good customer service definitely succeed. Mark, if there's an attorney out there who's thinking of striking it out on their own, what's one piece of advice you'd give to them?
Well, if they're going to be doing trial work, the answer is, two things. One, go watch trials. The other is volunteer your time. Go do pro bono stuff. You're going to lose cases, but you'll get experience. And don't worry about losing cases here and there. And also know when you've hit your Kenny Rogers moment. Know when to hold them, know when to fold them. And you can do, I had a trial with one of the class 1 freights that the woman sitting in the hallway outside of trial was not my client's doctor, but instead was his sister, and she was there to look like a doctor so that we could get the best settlement on the table. We knew that we weren't going to be able to get the doctorate. So, you go into something like that, and the key is never get caught bluffing. Not don't bluff, but you can't get caught bluffing. And to this day, I never have.
That's great advice. Great advice, Mark. We've been listening to Marc Wietzke, owner of Flynn and Wietzke PC. Mark, where can people go to learn more about the firm?
The easiest would be the website, FELA attorney, all one word, you'll have a double A.com, or 516-877-1234.
Awesome. Thanks, Mark. Thanks for being on the show, man.
Of course. I appreciate you having me.
Thanks for listening to the ESQ Marketing Podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.